Where did you think chocolate milk comes from? What's the longest recorded flight of a chicken? And with big companies seemingly taking over pretty much every aspect of life, how many farms are truly operated by families these days? Farming is often a romanticized way of life that actually isn't nearly as simple as you may think. Let's take a look at the 6 weirdest farming and agricultural facts you've never heard before. In no particular order, let's start with a simple question. Where does chocolate milk come from again? It's not surprising to hear that a lot of children think chocolate milk comes from brown cows. Who didn't think that chocolate milk came from brown cows when they were younger? But what probably does come as a surprise is the results from an online survey conducted by the Innovation Center for U.S. Dairy, which revealed a rather shocking statistic. According to them, about 7% of the adult population in the United States still believes chocolate milk comes from brown cows. And that's not the only cow-related fact that the American adult population has been confused about. Apparently, the Department of Agriculture conducted a study in the early 1990s that revealed that 20% of adults did not know hamburgers were made with beef. But did you know that cow milk isn't the only animal that produces milk which humans can consume? Donkeys, horses, camels, sheep, reindeer, and even yaks make milk as well, just to name a few. Especially goat's milk has become popular in more recent years, which is often used to make all kinds of delicious specialty cheeses. Sadly, not everyone can safely drink cow's milk, which is why these days you can find lots of other types of milk that have been made from plant sources. So how is chocolate milk made then? Well, by adding cocoa and sugar to milk, which will always be white, no matter what color the dairy cow it comes from has. It's unclear where the myth of brown cows producing chocolate milk comes from. Following, what's the longest recorded flight of a chicken? Chickens are feathered creatures just like any other bird. Despite that, a lot of people believe that chickens are incapable of flight, but that is not true. As long as their wings haven't been damaged or intentionally clipped, chickens can take off for short periods of time, as unlikely as it may seem looking at their shape and size. But what a chicken calls flying is not exactly what we call flying. Usually, chickens can't fly for very long at a time, very high, not very far horizontally, but they definitely take off and take flight in their own manner. Needless to say, some breeds of chicken are better at it than others, but every breed of chicken can fly at least a little bit. Most breeds of adult chicken have small wings compared to their body size, which complicates the situation for the average chicken. On top of that, chickens also have relatively heavy feet in comparison to their body size. The combination of small wings and heavy feet all add up to chickens only being able to fly for a small amount of time. However, they are adaptable enough to scale a fence or fly up a tree. Either way, keeping all of this in mind, it should not come as a surprise to hear that the longest recorded flight by a chicken is just 13 seconds long. The longest ever recorded distance a chicken has ever managed to cover in flight is an impressive 301.5 feet. Did you know chickens can fly? Next up, how many farms are truly operated by families? The answer to this question will be unexpected for a lot of people, especially to those who associate farming in the United States with big corporate agriculture. In the US, family operations accounted for about 59,000 large-scale farms in 2015, which made up about 90% of all the large-scale farms in the United States. On a family farm, the principal operators and their relatives, either by blood or marriage, own more than half of the assets of the business. In other words, an actual family owns and runs the farm. As of 2015, 90% of U.S. farms were small family operations with under $350,000 in annual gross cash farm income, or GCFI. GCFI is a measure of revenue that includes the sale of livestock and crops, government payments, and other farm-related income. However, on the other side of those numbers, these small farms only accounted for 24% of the value of production. To put that into perspective, large-scale family farms with at least $1 million in GCFI made up only 2.9% of all U.S. farms. But those farms did contribute 42% of total production. Non-family farms could only account for 11% of the total agricultural production. The shift of the bulk of the production coming from larger farms has been ongoing for years. Family and non-family farms with over $1 million in GCFI accounted for about half of the value of U.S. farm production in 2015, taking it up from a third in 1991. Hold up, we've got a few more weird and interesting facts in store for you. Next, how many miles do you think it takes for a beehive to make 1 pound of honey? Could you outrun a pig? And is organic farming really more labor intensive? Keep watching until the end of the video to find out. But first, how many miles of flight does it take for a beehive to make 1 pound of honey? Have you ever wondered how far a bee has to travel during its lifetime in order to make just 1 pound of honey? The answer may make you appreciate the sticky sweetness a lot more than you have until now. It's good to know that bees like to preserve energy whenever they can, just as much as humans do, and they won't travel any further than is absolutely necessary. But you've got to remember that food is not the only resource a honeybee needs to survive. It has to collect water, pollen, and plant resins for making propolis, which is a kind of bee glue that they use to repair their hive, create a protective barrier against predators, and seal cracks. Studies have shown that bees generally remain within a 2-mile radius of their hive, but when scientists released and recaptured tagged bees, they found out that bees are actually capable of flying for much longer distances. Distances as far as 5, 6, or more miles have been recorded. So how many miles of flight does it take for a hive of bees to produce 1 pound of honey? 55,000 miles, which sounds like a colossal amount of work for just a little bit of honey. But just wait until you find out how many flowers are needed to make that same amount of honey. It's estimated to be about 2 million. Luckily, bees can also fly up to 15 miles an hour, and they're very brave little flying creatures who work tirelessly. But next time you're in need of some honey, maybe thank the bees for their hard work. Next up, how fast can a pig run a mile? Surely you've often wondered whether you would be able to outrun a pig if you were ever put in a situation where you had to outrun a pig. Well, we may have some sobering news for you. The average human can cover a mile in about 7 to 10 minutes, though it'll probably take you closer to 12 to 15 minutes if you're new to running. And as it turns out, adult domestic pigs can run as fast as 11 miles per hour. This means that your chances of outrunning a pig are not very promising, but at least the knowledge will help you work out another way of escaping a pig if you ever find yourself in a situation where you actually have to escape a pig. But remember, pigs are a lot smarter than you may think. In fact, pigs are incredibly intelligent and curious, and are even believed to be the smartest farm animal, even smarter than most breeds of dogs and some primates. Pigs are also notoriously clean animals. They can be found rolling in the mud because pigs hardly have any sweat glands, and mud is a very effective way to cool down, much like you'll see elephants do in warmer climate. But anyone who knows pigs will tell you that they actually like to keep their home clean, and some even like to decorate their stables with flowers. Another sign of the intelligence of pigs is their constant communication with each other. Scientists were able to differentiate more than 20 different vocalizations. And last but not least, is organic farming really more labor intensive? It's reasonable to think that something that was grown organically should take less labor to produce it, but this sentiment could not be removed further from the truth, as it's based on understandable misconception. For one, many people believe that organic farmers aren't allowed to use pesticides, but this isn't true. They are allowed to use pesticides as long as all the chemicals used are derived from natural resources, unlike the synthetically made pesticides used in conventional production. But the herbicides used in organic farming are much less effective than their synthetic counterpart, which leads to the requirements of more physical weeding. Moreover, these organically certified pesticides could still impact the health of the food and the health of the people growing it. And then there's the environmental enhancement and protection, not to mention the avoidance of future expenses to mitigate the pollution. And because organic farms don't rely on fertilizer as much, something called cover crops are needed to enhance the soil nitrogen levels, which also increases the amount of labor time a farmer has to invest in each acre. All of which to say that there are a lot of costs hidden in the production of organic food that you may never consider as an average consumer who has no agricultural knowledge. For example, a comparison of the required physical work hours per acre of tomatoes shows that organic systems actually need 34% more labor than conventional system. For pumpkins, it's 13% more, and for sweet corn, 7% more. Organic is a deceptively simple label for a product that actually needs a lot more TLC than most people realize. And with all that, that's a wrap for this video. Which one of these shocked you the most? Let us know in the comments down below. Don't forget to like and share the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell for more content like this. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.